Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, a game where it feels like any deck can climb the ladder that we call ranked, at least until Tearlament Shizu is added to the game, and then it's going to be hell on earth for everyone. It brings me back to a time where a wee little lad was going through a local game store provider location and would browse through the offerings of starter and structure decks, thinking about becoming a Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro. Those dreams were quickly stomped on when I learned one, I didn't have a local championship series to go to, and two, I was playing with a structure deck that everybody kind of knew the strategy of. So now, as I sit here on the main menu of Master Duel, wishing not to play ranked, not to play unranked, and really not feeling like playing any of the story modes normally, I ask myself a simple question while looking through the shop page and seeing a section called Structures. How far could I take a single structure deck in the shop through a story mode section of Master Duel specifically made to challenge a duelist? Well, let's find out today. Welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel SP Challenge. So, let's go ahead and get straight what we're talking about here. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, there is a section of the shop called Structures or Starter Decks, where you can buy specially made Konami-sponsored structure decks that are made for certain archetypes. Some are for zombies, some are for Salamangreat, there's some even for Dragon Maids. These decks are made to be stuff that you can just pick up and use. And I kind of want to test that theory. You see, Konami also created a story mode where you can play through as a certain archetype or challenge certain archetypes with your own creations. However, there's also two challenges at the very bottom, SP Challenge 1 and SP Challenge 2, both of which bring you through duelists from iconic anime battles, with SP Challenge 1 being those from the original Duel Monsters series, and SP Challenge 2 being those of the GX series. And I thought, hey, what a great way to test some of these structure decks. So I'm going to go into the shop, buy one of these structure decks, challenge SP Challenge 1 and 2, and see how far I can go before I either get so frustrated that I quit the duel or am able to give myself that championship reign of having beaten both of these challenges with a structure deck alone. We'll be doing this series multiple times, so don't fret if I don't choose the structure deck you want for this episode. I want to kind of make this a series and test the structure decks to see how good an archetype is by itself with a single purchase. These decks are meant to be bought in groups of 3, and you're meant to sort of combine the best cards from them. But what can I do with just a single copy? Let's see how far I go. For this first one, I decided to go with the deck that was calling to me the most, the one that I didn't know the effects of a lot of the cards and would be reading for the first time, and an archetype that I used to love a lot: zombies. Now, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Structure deck Immortal Glory, the zombie structure deck placed inside of Master Duel, is a very interesting case. It's relying not only on the graveyard for its recursion, but also using a few effects to banish cards out of the graveyard and then recur them from there as well. The deck has several cards in it that I don't feel really need to be inside of the deck, including stuff like Kasha and Scapegoat. However, there are a couple of cards in here that are staples to the zombie archetype: Glow Up Bloom, Plague Spreader Zombie, and its cousin Pain Painter, Doom Kaiser Dragon in the extra deck, and its two main stars, the Red Eyes Zombie Necro Dragon and the Red Eyes Zombie Dragon Lord, both accompanied by their little brother in the main deck, Red Eyes Zombie Dragon. This deck has a lot of emphasis on its monsters swarming the field and taking control of the game. So, how well will it fare against some of these SP challenges? Let's find out. Finally, one quick reminder about the rules. I'm only allowed to use the cards that are within the structure deck, meaning no customization and no outside cards are allowed. I'm allowed as many attempts at this challenge as possible, meaning I can duel the same duelist over and over and over again, understand their strategy more and more, and then capitalize on it with the cards that exist within the structure deck. However, If at any point I, as the player, feel that it's not worth it to try to take on this challenge anymore, the challenge ends with the deck failing. If I do at some point find a challenge or a structure deck that doesn't work and can't get through one of these SP challenges, I may just skip ahead to the next one and see how far the deck would have gone and seeing just what hurdles it can see. But in any case, those will still count as true failures, and I'll have to revisit those challenges maybe at a later date. Anyway, let's see how far the zombie structure deck can go, with our first challenge being Weevil Underwood. Now, Weevil's deck is nothing to be worried about, especially because it's just a bug strategy, and most bug strategies in the game outside of Insectors are not really that strong. Weevil specifically is playing a variant a little bit weaker of Giant Ballpark, using a lot of normal bug monsters and, of course, his ultimate Great Queen. However, we're able to use one of our greatest assets, cheating monsters out of the extra deck, with a card called Tatsunekro. Tatsunekro says that if this card is normal summoner set and used as a synchro material, one monster in your hand can be used as one of the other synchro materials. These synchro materials are banished instead of being sent to the graveyard, and you can't special summon monsters except for zombie monsters. Those two restrictions, that the cards are banished instead of sent to the graveyard and that we can't special summon zombie monsters, aren't really that big of a deal, especially since the entire deck is made of zombies, and part of our spell and trap lineup is all about returning cards that were banished to the deck in order to reset those spell and traps. Thanks to Tatsunekro, we're actually able to secure a very easy victory over Weevil. Next up, we meet up with Meku Tsunami and his Fury of the Kairoshin, and of course a couple copies of Torrential Tribute. You see, Mako's deck is a basic water-themed deck, but it also uses some very interesting cards such as Sea Stealth Attack to cheat out some easy victories over some of our monsters. However, he doesn't have the same type of advantage that we do, and because of a few poorly timed Sea Stealth attacks by him, we're able to cheat out a simple victory in using cards from both our extra deck and our main deck to win here. Next up is Bandit Keith, someone who isn't really too much of a challenge. Well, at least that's what I thought at first. You see, his machine monsters are a lot more of a threat than I was foreseeing, and it was the first major roadblock that I dealt with in this challenge. Not only does Bandit Keith have quick ways of clearing our field with his many different barrel dragons, but he also has ways to power up his monsters with cards like Limit Removal and, of course, 7 Complete, which he always seems to have in hand. Either way, Bandit Keith in this Gear Town aesthetic was able to easily take us down my first time challenging him, but it only took one more attempt for us to get in his way. You see, this is where the second part of our strategy really comes in. We have a control-oriented style within our deck that is able to allow us to cheat a couple of the monsters on Keith's side of the field to ours to be used as tribute fodder for our bigger monsters, such as our Nine-Tailed Fox. And once we put that type of presence on the field, Keith really doesn't have that much that he can do, especially since his monsters are extremely higher leveled. Next up was my Valentine, and was the real brick wall that we had to climb over for this challenge. You see, Mai has a lot of incredible cards in her disposal, a lot of high-powered Harpy ladies that swarm the field, and with the help of Harpy's Hunting Ground and a couple of other cards in her disposal, is able to just clear us out completely from our spell and trap card lineup to the monsters that we are able to set to defend ourselves. And truth be told, I really didn't know if the AI was cheating here or not, or if that was just how well this deck was constructed, but it always seemed that she had something to be able to special summon or counter the cards that we had on the field. While our deck is really good at swarming out zombies to get into powerful extra deck monsters, those extra deck monsters are not always powerful enough to deal with a group of Harpies on a Harpy's Hunting Ground, and even with our own zombie world, we're not getting that much of a boost. To say a boost at all would really be an understatement. So what's the best thing that we as a duelist can do? Well, really at this point, it's to go at them again and again and again, and hopefully get a hand that will let us win. That's exactly what we did in this game. See, a couple of things had to stack in our favor here in order for us to beat Mai. The first thing being that she had to go first, and we had to have the cards to take control of the game. Zombie World is exactly one of those. Turning all of her monsters into zombie types means that we have more ways of controlling her. Of course, we're able to summon cards like Zombie Master, who is able to bring cards from her graveyard, because they're counted as zombie types, to our side of the field once we've destroyed them. And there's many different ways that we can do this, but in this instance, we use Power Struggle to make her monster weaker and go ahead and take this Harpy for our own. With this, some simple board control is used in order to allow us to go ahead and just win this game state. It may have also helped that it seems that Mai may have bricked on a hand with very few monsters and a lot of spell and traps, and the AI really doesn't know what to do with some pretty bricky hands, so that may have just given us our saving grace. Fortunately for us, the next part of this run is extremely easy when it comes to the toon cards. Unfortunately, even though Pegasus was built up as this extremely strong person, it's extremely easy to take him out actually. Especially with his card Toon Kingdom, we're able to go ahead and combine these two things together to not only get his toons to protect themselves to the point where he drains his deck of all his resources, but also build up our own resources to just take out all the cards that he does eventually have. This duel wasn't anything super spectacular and honestly could easily be skipped upon, and if I ever did this SP challenge again, this is probably going to be the one part that I'm not going to struggle with a lot, but those words may bite me in the future. After those funny little tunes comes a match against Bakura as we jump into Battle City. Now, of course, Bakura is running his classic Destiny board and is playing Dark Sanctuary with it. However, unlike in the anime where Yugi was able to maneuver around this sort of strategy and use it against Bakura, Dark Sanctuary is actually kicking our butt and is really the only reason we lose this duel to start with. Bakura's Dark Sanctuary makes it so that any direct attack or attack that we declare is actually redirected back at us if he calls the coin right. And unfortunately, he got a lot of correct calls. RNG, something that I really do despise. And I've talked about multiple times on this channel why I don't like it. The fact that it's showing up in this challenge isn't making me happy. We are lucky enough the second go around that Bakura doesn't get Dark Sanctuary and are able to easily clear this challenge. On to the next one, which is probably going to be one that we're going to be stuck at for a while. Alright, I completely lied. This challenge was way easier than I thought. I really thought Merrick was going to completely destroy us with the Egyptian god cards, but in fact, when I thought that my back was up against the wall, it actually turned out that our zombies deck's third strategy of control to prevent the battle phase from continuing was actually our saving grace. And because of that, we were able to use a very simple strategy to take out the remainder of Merrick's life points. You see, in order to use his Egyptian god, he normally drains his life points to an absurdly low level. And thanks to this, any punch over is going to kill him. And thankfully for us, with a well-timed power struggle and a well-timed deflection of the battle phase, we were able to clinch that victory for ourselves. On to the next challenge. Shouldn't be that hard, right? It's just Joey's Red Eyes cards. I really need to stop speaking ahead of time because those Red Eyes monsters were actually extremely difficult to deal with. You may not think it, but the Red Eyes support has given a little bit of credence when it comes to just fighting it with structure decks because it has some insane combos that it can go into and just a lot of potential to summon many different things. However, I did want to do a little bit of BM on Joey after all this was done and sort of gave a self-imposed goal that I needed to beat Joey with his own Red Eyes, or at least a version of it, a zombified version of it, that is. So with this challenge being placed on myself, I actually got a little confused when I couldn't beat over his incredible dragons and their amazing force. Joey has a lot of combos under his belt, and as you can see here, it's easy to get overwhelmed by how many of them there are. However, if we're able to set up a board much faster than he is, especially with cards like Scapegoat and Bacon Saver to help us out, we're able to easily get one of our overpowered extra deck monsters to come in and clear the board for us. In the end, while it wasn't a direct hit from a Red Eyes that was able to do him in, it was still thanks to a zombie dragon that we were able to finish off this game and move on to face off the other Dragon Master, Seto Kaiba, and his Blue Eyes White Dragon. So, Seto Kaiba's Blue Eyes. He has many different ways to cheat them out and many different ways to get over us, especially with Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon, who can easily pierce over us with some of our weaker zombie monsters that can't really defend us very well. And thanks to all this, we have lost to him multiple times. It was finally a game where he just couldn't really play much and just set one card face down that we were able to take advantage of the field that he had. When he's limited on resources and doesn't have a Blue Eyes at his disposal, we're able to easily take care of it. And by using a couple of our own cheap tricks, we're able to use his own Blue Eyes to defeat him with a Red Eye Zombie Dragon. Even though I couldn't rub it in Joey's face, maybe rubbing it in Seto's face is even better. Someone who said that the Red Eyes was a weak monster, well, now he's seeing the true face of danger. God, that's so cringe, but okay, whatever. Final duel, and it's one of the more important ones, and hopefully it's going to go pretty fast. It's against the King of Games himself and his Dark Magician strategy. First go around wasn't very great. Cleared out our board with a couple of well-placed spells and some really powerful monsters. But our second go around, much easier. We're able to cheat out an extra deck monster that he can't really stomp over with his, 2,500 monsters, and then able to swarm the board before going ahead and finishing him off in one last turn. And that is the end of SP Challenge 1 and the end of this video. While I do at some point want to go back and do SP Challenge 2 with this same exact structure deck, I think for now we're at a good place to stop. I think I've successfully shown that structure decks are not all to be scoffed at, but also aren't really something for you to go into the meta ladder and challenge whatever deck you want in ranked. However, I think it's still a fun challenge to do, and I'd love to see how far that you guys can take this. Maybe with the knowledge of what happened in this challenge, you can even beat this a little faster than I did. So, if you want, go ahead and let me know down below if you guys were able to do this challenge any faster, or if you have a structure deck that you would like to see next time. And of course, if you guys go ahead and get this video to 50 likes, I'll go ahead and upload a second part to this video, which I'll link down in the description once it's done, to go through SP Challenge 2, which is through the GX generation. Much harder decks and much harder challenges, especially since they use a lot more of their extra deck and a lot more power-up cards that prevent us from being able to seek victory like we did in this challenge. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you did enjoy, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later, guys.